How much do you leave for yourself after all your expenses are paid? 0? That is the problem. Most people think they are saving money, but they are doing it backwards. They pay rent, bills, food, subscriptions, random impulse spending, everyone else, and only then ask whether anything is left for them. Usually, nothing is. And then they conclude the problem is income. It is not. The problem is the order. This is one of the most common money mistakes on earth because it feels logical. Earn money, use money, save whatever survives. But financially, that logic is broken. Save what is left sounds responsible. In practice, it means your future gets whatever your present mood did not already consume. That is not a strategy. That is leftovers disguised as planning, and leftovers are a terrible wealth-building system. The correct sequence is the opposite. Earn, pay yourself first, then spend the rest. That is the entire rule. But the order changes everything because money behaves differently depending on when the decision is made. If saving happens last, it competes with every expense, every temptation, and every excuse. If saving happens first, spending is forced to adapt to reality instead of endlessly expanding into it. Most people have it backwards because they think paying yourself first is selfish, unrealistic, or only possible for high earners. None of that is true. In reality, most people already pay everyone else first. Landlord first, utility company first, streaming service first, credit card first, delivery app first. Future you gets whatever scraps remain after the world has taken its share. And then people wonder why the month ends at 0, even when the salary is not terrible. Here is the paradox. Paying yourself first is not about having extra money. It is about deciding that your future is not optional. That is why this rule matters so much. It is not really a budgeting trick. It is an identity rule. It answers one question very clearly. When money enters your life, does your future get funded first, or does your future get whatever your habits failed to destroy? Let's make this concrete. Imagine 2 people earning $1,000 a month. Same income, same starting point. Person A saves 10% immediately every month. $100 automated on day 1. Person B tells themselves they will save whatever is left at the end of the month. That sounds like a small difference. It is not. It is the difference between a rule and a wish. One system acts first. The other hopes later. After 1 month, person A has $100 saved. Person B has a maybe. After 1 year, person A has built a small but real habit and a visible base. Person B has a pattern of inconsistency. And over 10 years, that gap becomes brutal. 10% of $1,000 is $100 a month. That is $1,200 a year, $12,000 in contributions over 10 years. Before growth, add even modest returns, and the disciplined saver builds something meaningful. The leftover saver usually builds frustration. And the hidden difference is not just the money. It is the identity being trained in the background. Person A becomes someone whose system expects saving. Person B becomes someone who keeps waiting for ideal conditions. One habit builds certainty. The other builds disappointment. Over time, those identities harden. That is why this rule is so powerful. It changes not only the account balance, but the kind of financial person you become. This is why the phrase, "I'll save what's left," is so dangerous. It sounds financially mature, but psychologically it is almost guaranteed to fail because your brain is a world-class justification machine. If money remains visible in the account, your mind will always find a use for it. Something urgent, something small, something deserved, something temporary, something social, something that feels harmless because it only happens once, except it never only happens once. Human beings are not wired to leave resources sitting still when those resources are easy to access, and every app on the planet is competing for them. This is not a moral failure. It is system design. Frictionless spending will beat manual saving for most people, most of the time. That is why brainpower is the wrong tool here. You do not need to become more heroic. You need to become less reachable by your own impulses. And this is the deeper psychological truth. Your spending always expands to fit the money it can see. Give yourself access to the full paycheck, and your lifestyle will quietly learn how to absorb it. Remove 10% before you touch it, and your lifestyle will learn to survive without it. People think saving requires sacrifice forever. Usually, it requires adjustment once. Then the new baseline becomes normal. That is how real systems win. Not through daily discipline, but through repeated environmental design. This is why pay yourself first works so well. It does not fight human behavior, it uses it. Once the money is gone, your brain stops trying to spend it. The account balance you see becomes your reality. And humans are surprisingly good at adapting to the reality they see every day. The hardest part is not the saving. The hardest part is changing the sequence once. So how do you implement this in real life? Step 1. Set up an automatic transfer on payday or the day after. Not at the end of the month. Not when you remember. Immediately. Step 2. Send that money to a separate account so it is not sitting in the same checking balance as your daily spending. Step 3. Use a percentage, not a fixed number, so the system scales with your income and survives changes in salary. The percentage matters because percentages adapt. 10% works at $1,000. It also works at $3,000. A fixed amount often breaks the moment your income changes or your expenses shift. A percentage builds consistency into the system. It teaches your money to move correctly before your emotions get involved. And once the percentage is running automatically, growth stops depending on motivation. That is the real upgrade. You do not need a dramatic number to start. 5% is better than 0. 3% is better than waiting for the perfect month. The amount matters less than the mechanism at the beginning. Because once the system exists, increasing it later becomes much easier. But if you keep waiting for a version that feels painless, you will keep replaying the same month with the same result. Everyone gets paid except you. Here is another reason this rule matters. It protects you from mood-based finance. Some months you feel disciplined, some months you feel tired, impulsive, celebratory, or stressed. Systems do not care. Systems execute. That is why automation is stronger than intention. Intention is a promise you make to yourself. Automation is a structure that keeps the promise even when your emotions change. Here is the mistake people make after hearing this. They think the rule is about saving more. It is not. It is about reversing priority. That is why it works even at smaller incomes. The breakthrough is not the exact amount. The breakthrough is that your future stops being the last claim on your money. The moment future you gets paid first, your entire financial structure starts pointing in a different direction. So here is your move this week. Choose a percentage. Open or use a separate savings account. Set up one automatic transfer to happen the moment your income lands, then leave it alone. Automate it once and forget it. That is the beauty of this rule. Your money starts growing without requiring your daily attention, your daily discipline, or your daily mood. Fix the order, and you fix the pattern. Subscribe if this helped, and I'll see you in the next video.